Our next speaker, our penultimate speaker, Sarah, is a Winnipeg-based video game producer who has been in the industry for almost 10 years. Titles she's worked on include FIFA 21, Homeworld 3, and Age of Empires 4. Prior to games, Sarah was in marketing and worked on campaigns with companies such as Costco and Staples. Outside of games, Sarah enjoys dance, crochet, and playing with her 1-year-old pup. Welcome, Sarah. You can flip this on, or you can just hold it.
I think it will. Sweet. Hello, hello. How is everyone doing? Good? Woo! Will that work? Is that close enough? Yeah? Cool. Okay. It's the first time I'm actually using something like this, so I feel kind of professional right now. Not gonna lie. All right, Game Jam. Love it. I love that I was asked to talk about this. Unfortunately, this is now the dry part of the talk, so sorry everyone. It's going to be a bunch of text about how to keep your projects and your game jam on track and as organized as you can. I think this would be a great topic for people who have never done a game jam before, because then you could be like, oh, I think I know what I can do now, and then you can start doing things. And if you haven't done it, or if you've done it before and you're a veteran, hopefully this is a bit of a refresher, or maybe you can take something out of it. I don't know, but when I first did my first game jam, gosh, it was like 8 years ago at the Global Game Jam. I wanted to be the project manager producer on it, and I got there and I was like, so what do I do? And I had no idea. So I wish I had all the knowledge that I know now to have helped me years ago, and hopefully this will help some of you. All right, so let's get to it. So just, again, a little quick brief intro about who I am. So you've heard of some of the games that I've worked on. It was a really fun time working for companies like EA or Relic. I've worked on indie, console, mobile, AAA games all across the board. I'm originally from Toronto. I moved to Vancouver to get into video games, and that was a really fun time in tech. And now I'm here. I know, you're like, why? You can ask me why later. But let's just say my 1-year-old pup enjoys having a backyard. So, spoiler. And then before this, I was in marketing. So I did get a degree in business. And then I used some of that transferable skills to get into production. And then from there, I took a lot of project management-based courses. I've done my PMP, I've done my ACSPO, I'm an ACSM, and I'm currently working on my PMI, or ACP, PMI, or something like that. I should really know what I'm doing the exam on in like 3 months, but you know, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Yeah. So for all of you who are kind of new to video game development, this will be a really nice way to get yourself into it. For those who've seen this before or already know a little bit about game development, this is just going to be like our refresher 101. So in project management, the basic life cycle, you have 4 parts. You have the initiating, the planning, execution, and close. Now, there's a lot of text under each of them, but all you really have to know is at the beginning, initiating, that's where all the planning happens and all the good ideas come together. And then that's kind of where the planning part comes. So the initiating is where you kind of get the people, the money, what you want to do. You get them all together, then you go into the planning. You get all of the documentation together. You're like, yeah, we know what we're going to do. Execution, you start doing what you're supposed to do, and then you got your goals and your deadlines, and you have the producers running after you saying, hey, close out your JIRA tasks, and then you close out, which is launching of the game. Now, how does this work with game development? So first stage of game development is pre-production, and that's kind of where the initiating planning stage happens. So this is where like the GDD comes to light, the team roles and responsibilities. This is where marketing starts asking, you know, who are you trying to target? You get some timelines, you get some budgeting, and then you might even be beginning or getting to your prototyping or vertical slice. And so that's all happening in this first stage. Once you kind of get that all stamped and approved, you can move over to the production section or the implementation and execution part of project management. And so this is basically where a lot of projects live. It could be years while you're sitting in production. This is the most challenging part of development and it actually can be the most costly too. This is where a lot of the times you see games saying, oh, actually we have to move the release date because, and so it's usually because there's things that happen during production, scope creep, things like that. Also, you'll be doing lots of play testing. This might be where you do like open beta, closed beta, depending on where you're going to launch. You might even do a pre-launch, maybe start working with marketing on a few of those little things here and there. But this is basically where that's going to happen. And then, of course, the close is the game release. So yay, release day is here. You get to go and see your beautiful project out in the wild. A lot of these times people go down to what they call zero bug milestone. That's basically all critical bugs now down to zero. When I was at FIFA, it was like, that was the time where everyone stayed back because you're just like, whoa, we have to get FIFA down to 0 bugs. Is that even possible? And if anybody plays FIFA, you'll know that there's still quite a lot of bugs in there. But yes, so it's the producer's job to really get us down to all those critical bugs down to 0. And then the team celebrates. Maybe you'll have a wrap party. Maybe you'll have swag that you get from the company. And then again, as producers, archiving happens. And that's where you basically hand over any kind of documentation or anything that's owed to the publisher or the people who owns the IP, anything like that. All of that good stuff happens right at the end. Now there is another section to game dev, and everyone knows there's the live ops section, but in project management we don't really have that, and that's in another talk that I usually have. So if anyone has questions about that part, you can definitely let me know. I've been a live op producer for a while now, so I'm happy to talk about that. But what I want to move into more is now, how can this work for your game jam? So I know, lots of information all at once, especially if you never really heard a lot about this. So when we're talking about pre-production, let's think of it as like the before or the beginning of your jam, right? Maybe you want to start figuring out the roles and responsibilities. Who's going to do what? Who's going to code? Who's going to make art? Does somebody want to put on the hat as a project manager? These are all the things that you kind of want to figure out with the team. Depending on how big and how small. And also, if you are doing it online, for example, how are you going to communicate with each other? Are you going to set up maybe a Discord chat? Are you going to do it over Slack or something like that? I don't know why, but maybe email. That could be a thing. So you might want to start setting up some repos. You might want to start setting up a project board. You could use, there's tons of free things available if you want, where you could start putting together tasks. You could even start simple things like a logo or the credit screen or the start menu. Those are things that a lot of games are supposed to have, are going to have. And so you can already start pre-populating all of those boards while you're starting to talk about what you want to do with the team. And then you get to the main part, which is the goal of the game. And if anyone knows MVP? Yeah? What is it? There is that, which is sometimes me. Yeah! The minimum viable product. And so that's basically what you want to get to. It's a simple idea. It's like you could take the greatest, most amazing idea that you have, and then just kind of simplify it. Just kind of pare it down to maybe 1 or 2 special mechanics. Maybe focus on specific things about it that will say, yes, the player can understand what my game is in this one little section, in this MVP. And so that's kind of what you want to do at the very beginning. Any other ideas doesn't mean they're bad. You could put them in the backlog. Since you've already set up your board, you can start putting things down so that once you have an MVP done, then you can start working from those in the backlog. So by the end of pre-production, you should have an idea of the core game and main mechanic, high-level breakdown of what everyone is doing, and then also backlog. So what next? Now you have your production phase. And so during the game jam, things that you probably want to do is communicate as much as you can, constant check-ins. I've heard of people doing like hourlies, they kind of check in with the team, see what they're doing, see what's missing. You might want to check the boards if you have someone who has the project manager hat on, and they're kind of moving tasks around and asking people, hey, is this in? Did this get checked in? Then you can check that just to make sure you know where you're at. And then always check the scope and time. I mean, I am a producer, so that's constantly what I'm doing all the time, just making sure, are we on track? Do we have the right features in? If not, red flags. I do this constantly with my team. If we know we're going to hit up a deadline, if we have a milestone, a gate, a review that's coming up, I always ask them way before then, hey, what are your red flags? Anything that you want to bring up that you think won't make it for this particular time. Because then you can talk about what you could do next. Do we have to cut it? Do we have to refine the feature? Do we have to try and do something else or pivot? You want to make sure whatever you align with everybody, that you have enough time to do it. So red flags are good before the actual deadline, not like the hour before, maybe like few hours before then. So you have the time to talk about it. And then the last one, so I got a few of these ideas from one of my friends who he's a game director, and he's done a ton of game jams as well. Hydrate. He was like, you need to make sure that you hydrate. You need to make sure that you are taking breaks, that you're taking the time. I know sometimes it could be exciting, or you're really, interested in what you're doing, and your head's down, and you don't even realize how long it's been since the last time you put, some kind of water or anything in you. You might want to make sure that someone is there poking, being like, hey, don't forget water, or any kind of food or anything like that. So hydration, please. And then last, of course, is the launch release. So this is at the end or the last stretch of the game jam. And so this is where you definitely want to be doing bug testing, play testing if you can, focusing on polishing the game. And so if this person who wants to take on the project management role wants to go around and like tell people, okay, you know what, now is not the time for us to start working on a new feature. Maybe not a really good idea to start doing that right now. Let's start polishing and making things look really good. Final communication, so wrapping up any tasks, uploading and distributing on websites. So if there's anything, documentation that you have to do as well, do make sure you keep a little bit of time at the end to make that, to get that all out. And then party. Got to party. If it's the end of a release, you have to do that as game developers. It's in our it's in our right. Perfect. So I'm just going to end this off with some tips and recommendations. So keep it simple. I know it's really common thing to say to everyone, but when you actually start getting into it and you start brainstorming and everyone has all these really cool ideas, it's really easy to start with something that's really small and then getting to something really big. So keep in mind, starting small, stick to the vision. A lot of times for game designers, for example, the vision and the pillars are what they kind of live and breathe, right? If you're not following the vision, if you're not following the pillars, then you're going to go off rails, you're going to go this way, you're going to go that way. It's really hard to stay on task and on goal. So really stick to that vision. Learn something. This is supposed to be really fun. Do something you've never done. Do a role you want to do. If you have something that you're really interested in, even if you don't have a lot of experience, but you kind of know what you want to get at, it would be really cool to take that on. And game jams are a fun time to actually try and do something cool. For those who are interested, time boxing, work back plans, and dependencies. If you want to try and wrap your mind around that, thinking about, okay, well, if we have to get done at 8 o'clock at this time, it's going to take me 2 hours to do this, then work back from there to figure out when you actually need to have certain deadlines. Time boxing is really good too. So for example, when you're going to start brainstorming your ideas, you could say, okay, we're only going to do this for 2 hours and that's it. And after 2 hours, we're just going to call it, this is the idea, and then we're going to move forward with that. And then dependencies, of course, is just really good to see, oh, art has to be finished here first, and then it has to go to code. Just understanding that workflow makes things a little bit more smoother for you at the end. And support each other and have fun. That's really everything that I had.